Biddulph.
What about in front of your bike?
What a bad life. Yes, of course. I wonder what I can do with the old bag.
I think we've got... Well, can you get a picture? I don't want to be blocking anyway. There we are, her nifty pepping style.
Excuse me, let me get out of the way.
Are you filming, Philip?
Yes, I said let me get out of the way.
I'll just take it from more.
Funny enough, we've got 25 miles mapped out and we've got the stop clock here. Any takers?
Yes?
Okay. We ought to have you on a bike, really.
Is that better?
No. I said we ought to have you on a bike.
Oh, I can't. I'm never going to make it out on there.
Have you ever had your photograph taken?
Very embarrassing. There's two positions, and I could go on the top or down below. But
Yeah.
I think probably there might have been slightly more. I don't know. Because I'm being fussy now. But it is absolutely wonderful. Yes. I used to have a front lamp when I was racing at night, and it was one of these with a little front, little battery, and a clear light. You couldn't see anything. It was very dangerous because I used to bomb along and couldn't see where I was going. But it was great fun.
They used to mend the potholes.
To try and find a lamp like that.
No, well, anyway, it didn't ride always with the lamp. But I like the half mountain because that was made life a bit more pleasant when it was very wet. It was often very wet. Yeah, it's lovely. I think it's great. I think you've gone to an awful lot of trouble.
So how many miles have you done on that one?
It's amazing.
Well done.
Everywhere. I used to do all my shopping on it. I used to put a little one of those things to clip on there and have my shopping on the back. And if I went down Hounslow High Street, it used to be quite funny because the schoolboys, you know, I had all my shopping all piled up there, and some on my back, and it came to lights and we would all stop, and they looked at me, and as we went off, you know, I beat them to the next lot, and they would laugh. They were looking at the back, and they were wondering what was, you know, if I got some sort of special gears on it, and they couldn't believe it. I used to love it. You know, wheel at the end, when I had to go and turn off, it was a shame. It was quite a laugh. I like a challenge. It was great fun. and then when I wanted to get past stuff near to end, I used to go, you wouldn't do it now, but I used to go in the third lane on the motorway to the airport, and there used to be an airport bus that used to go along in the middle lane. and you know, it wasn't all that fast, but I used to keep up with that, you know, so I knew I was getting fast enough for the 50. Because I had to do moving around the 50. It was great days. They were really great days. It was hard work. But I think the way you've got it now, you know, and those number twos are number ones, or noughts, you know.
Trevor would be
Yes, yes. I knew everyone was allowed to use noughts on the 50. But they were that and I used to use twos. They never punctured. No, they never punctured.
You're going too fast, that's why.
No, nothing.
You didn't ride much in Hereford, that's why.
So you've got thorns on the road and bushes.
Are you ready now, Dave? Because there's a lot outside.
Can you get Gavin to me a minute? Eileen?
Yes.
Would you like to come on through a moment, please?
Yes, yes.
We're coming forward.
2 bands, 3 and 7.
Yeah.
couple of weeks?
Yes, I probably will be. Actually.
Yeah, I shall see you down there then.
Yes.
She might be still
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Oh, hello.
To that way. Are you, shall I start?
Where's the deputy?
You'll wait down the pecking order.
Can we have you up here, sir?
How are you?
Angela Ben, have I?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've been delegated as chairman of the trustees of the National Cycle Collection to welcome you to this very auspicious occasion today, where we have Eileen Sheridan, who we all know so much about, who, as youngsters, people used to collect the weekly cycling comic just to see exactly how much she'd done each previous week and all the rest of it, because her name was always in the news. At a time of austerity, just after the war, she really shone a light for ladies and that, and what a marvellous woman she is. Also, I'm invited, we have Councillor Tony Phillips, who's the Deputy Mayor of Landry Dwells, who help us so immensely in the museum. You can always twist an arm occasionally in the right place to get a little bit of information. But let me introduce the National Cycle Museum. There are a number of us that are trustees and a lot of helpers. But this museum is your museum. None of us actually have any financial rewards whatsoever from keeping this museum alive. Basically, it's an artifact of cycling history from 1820s right the way on through. And it belongs to you, each one of you, because it's your donations and that which actually keep it alive. Our £25,000 a year takes a bit of doing, and jumble sales, rummage, anything we can do, beg, borrow, and we don't actually get down to stealing, but practically. And that's how we manage to keep this wonderful business alive here. The beautiful 1910, 1912 Grade 2 listed building really sets it off, ideally, for people to come and visit and see this collection, which has been put together by a number of people. For Tom Norton, who's part of the collection, David Higman's part of his collection, the National Cycle Collection, which came from Lincoln and various other places, and by generous donations from people such as yourself. And well, without your support, we would never be able to exist. And so with this, I've said enough, and I will now pass you over to Mr. Councillor Tony Phillips, who's the Deputy Mayor of Landry Dwells.
Obviously not one of my voters looking at the election. Arm twisting, the council finance meeting meets in January, so if you care to put an application in, I'm sure we'll give it every possible consideration.
Thank you very much.
To Eileen, if I may address you as such, a very, very considerable pleasure, a genuine pleasure, for me to welcome you here today on behalf of the Mayor, the Town Council and the Town of Landry Dwells.
Thank you.
Your achievements, well, I know David will list them and elaborate on them further, are legendary. And they are that, because I was a young lad in the 50s, and my cycling efforts, if they were never anywhere near as good as yours. As I say, it is a very considerable pleasure. And if we think of what Eileen has done, and we know what she's done and achieved, and we look at our results in the Olympics in Peking, and see what our cyclists have done there, and a great deal of that, the impetus for what their performance is, were led by people like yourself. I know this to be an absolute fact. My family's only claim to fame in cycling was that my great-grandmother in St Ives was the first woman on a bicycle in St Ives. She was fined £half a furious riding through the streets, and heaven help us, 5 shillings for lewd behaviour in a public place because she wore trousers. Just let me repeat again, Eileen, what a very, very considerable pleasure this is for the town and for me personally, and I shall be reporting on this and saying so at the council meeting.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for being with us today.
It's a great
Thanks for
pleasure.
everything that you've achieved and the inspiration that you've given to generations of cyclists. Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phillips. And now I should like to introduce, what the hell's his name? Gent here, David Higman, MBE, who is the unpaid and diligent curator of this fantastic selection. Without him, we wouldn't exist. I give you David Higman.
Good old David.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming. We've got a wonderful turnout. We have stars and personalities all over the place. Well, today is a very special day for our museum, where we have Eileen to present, in person rather, to officially open the Eileen Sheridan exhibition. During the 1950s, Eileen became the holder of all 29 professional 21, is it? Oh, well, okay. Well, you're still young yet. Still young yet. Professional cycling records on the books of the Women's Road Records Associations, with distances from 25 miles up to 1,000. Eileen sat upon a bicycle one day at Land's End, and I bet it was raining and windy because it's always wet and windy at Land's End, pointed the bicycle north and rode it up to Johnny Groats. But wait a moment, Eileen not only rode the bicycle to Johnny Groats, but did it in 2 days, 11 hours and 7 minutes, almost non-stop. Yes. This was at an average of 14 3/4 miles per hour. Try doing that in a car, starting Land's End and driving up to there. Without much sleep, and she broke the record for end to end. Having achieved this, she had a very short sleep, which I believe was just over an hour, remounted her bicycle and rode another 130 miles to break the 1,000-mile record, which she obviously did, or did rather. Sure. It took me 19 years to go from Cornwall to North Shropshire. Over the past few years, visitors would ask, what have you got on Eileen Sheridan? Well, previously, the only thing that we had was a beautiful engraving vase which Eileen does, which is on display here.
From Cecil Burt, George. This lady here.
Oh, yes.
Lovely, thank you.
Yes. Eileen, well, from today, I can proudly direct our visitors to the Eileen Sheridan display here, and point them to the bicycle that Eileen rode end to end, which is here. Eileen, you are a living legend. Thank you for giving us so many achievements to talk about, and being here today to open the exhibition to yourself. I give you Wonder Wheels herself, Eileen Sheridan.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's so wonderful to see you all, and to think that you bothered to come all this way to see me. I'm really honoured. I don't know what to say. this is the most incredible collection of bicycles I've ever seen, and I think they must be very, very proud of it to have it here in Wales. And I'm sure that it's going to be a place of memorabilia that we'll all see when we look round. It's so great. I'm quite sure that each one will spend many, many happy hours here looking. I was very luckily brought here by Peter Whitfield, who's written the book on me, and he's very, very kindly brought me with his wife, and he's going to drive me all the way back, so he's got a full-time job. I want to thank you also for thinking about me like this, and I just feel so overcome by it all. I don't know whether you've all heard about, of course, the Olympics, the fantastic Olympics, and all the wonderful riders. And I think it must be wonderful for Nicole Cook, who, of course, I don't think people made enough fuss of her. She's been cycling's treasure, a real treasure. She did the World Road Race Champion in 2003, 2006, winner of the Ladies Tour de France and the Tour of Italy and the Tour of Germany in 2006, and she was classed by the UCI as #1 woman rider in the world in 2007. And really and truly the big one, the golden one, you must all be very proud to see that she got that in 2008. What a ride it was. It was the hardest gold medal of the lot. She rode through pouring rain and she had the most terrible time. But she did win, and it was absolutely superb. I don't know whether you realise that I am the president of the Coventry CC, but Nicole Cook's family is a Coventry family. Oh, sorry about that, Wales. But it just happens that her mother and father went to live in Wales, and Nicole was born there. But he worked in Coventry, and he was in the Coventry Cycling Club, and he and his brother, they're all her uncles, and he and his brother were really good racing men in our club. So we always feel we have a little tiny piece of that gold medal in Coventry. Also, let me just see. When I was invited here, by the way, I asked if I could please invite Lynne Taylor to come down, because she didn't know anything about it. And I'm very, very proud to say that Lynne, come here, Lynne,
come forward.
she broke her... I'm really so happy that she's come. It's just wonderful. She broke my 1,000-mile record, and she broke Pauline Strong's end-to-end record. And so she really is the greatest. And I think that she's had the most wonderful career in her distance running, because she then went on to get the tandem tricycle record with Andy Wilkins, Wilco as we called him. And old Wilco told me that she kept him going. He was about to, he was given up. And what tickled me was that her aunties came out on the course to cheer her on. And so I sent her a card, a very funny card with old Lynne belting along on this tandem, with her aunties all going yoo-hoo with pearls on. I visualised her aunties with pearls on. But it was such a delight to know that she's done so successfully well. And the WRA must be very delighted too, because I must tell you one funny story about Lynne's end-to-end, and she told me this, and I'm sure it must have caused quite a sensation. Somebody ran along holding up a cream bun, and she told me, she said, I thought I'd better not have it, not a cream bun. So she said, no, better not have it. And she went past the chap with the cream bun, then a few miles along, she thought, why shouldn't I have a cream bun? So she said to one of the helpers, could I have a cream bun? And in the wind, the message got a little bit garbled to the headquarters, could she have cream for her bum? I thought that was absolutely wonderful. So she did you have that cream bun?
No.
Disgraceful, I'd have come out especially with one. Oh, dear. But when you consider, at a long time ago in 1937, the Women's Road Records Association annual dinner, and Mr. Bryan of the BSA said that cycling was a pastime and a pleasure, and that he was very interested. He thought it was great interest for the nation, and he thought it was excellent. But he said recently, added to our books, the WRA books, they had suggested the Land's End to John O'Groats, and he really did feel that distance for women to ride was not an athletic performance. I think you'd be rather surprised now. Well, Lillian Dredge, who was the president of the WRA, she was a great record breaker. She was a real character, and she did some marvellous rides, and in those days when she did the end-to-end, she had to stop and rest at night. They made her stop, and the men made her stop and rest at night. She'd probably have beaten the men. But Lillian, she's a real character, and as I say, in full evening dress at the WRA dinner, she did a cartwheel. And somebody was absolutely shocked on the WRA and spoke to me and said she thought she wasn't a fit person to be president. So I replied, I thought she was very fit, and admitted that very few presidents could do that, which is true, isn't it, when you consider who are presidents now. Anyway, such names as Lillian Dredge, Pearl Wellington and Reg Duhume, you don't really know of them, but they were great riders, and they blazed the trail for us when we were riding. And it's really nice to know that they were. By the way, Ken Joy, he couldn't come today. He's had a very big heart operation last year, and he's very delicate at the moment, and he couldn't really travel. But he came on the phone and he said, "Hello, sunshine," and he sounded so nice and cheerful. But he sends his best regards to you all, and he's sorry he can't be with you. And also, I rang Billy Dovey. She was the mile eater in this area. She's living down in Cornwall, and she wasn't well enough to come. But they told me to give her a ring at her nursing home. So I rang up the nursing home, and she's now, of course, Billy Fleming, but I thought of her as always Billy Dovey, you see. So I rang up and spoke to the nursing home and said, could I speak to Billy Dovey? And she said, I'm sorry, we haven't any men here. I said, no, she actually, well, can I just speak to Mrs. Billy Dovey? And I couldn't think about it. And George Fleming is such a famous man, as you all know. And then she came to the phone, so we had a lovely conversation. She sounded just the same. And she also sends her regards to you all, and she's sorry she can't be with us. Is Chris and John Watts here? I can't. They're at the back there. Are they? Are they here? Well, I just wanted to say about them that Chris and John are great workers for asphalt, and Chris has been president of the here she is, WRA president, and RRA on the committee. She's a real worker. We're both now not president of the WRA, but we're vice presidents of the RRA, and we're sorry that there aren't more backing. But Chris has been a great rider in her day and broken lots of records, and it's lovely of you and John to have come. And John's also been a real hard worker at Herne Hill. And tucked away in the crowd there, Bob Maitland, quietly studying it. Now we all remember Bob as a great rider, and we're really pleased. And I see so many of you in the crowd I know. Jean Shakespeare, that I remember of Jean. Timekeeper, and Coventry Cycling Club member of years ago. Yes, it was really lovely. It's really wonderful. Now, I can't help thinking that when you read the back, some of the rules, in 1936, entry forms on the Southern Ladies Road Club read, suitable costume, competitors must be completely clothed from head to foot. The costume should be inconspicuous and must include a jacket of which the sleeves must not be turned back above the elbow. Headgear worn must be inconspicuous. Also, competitors' numbers shall not be displayed. Well, it's funny because because I remember that happened in 1945. I was not allowed to wear a number, and I was number one off. And it was my first race, and I got to the turn and called out 1, and the bloke said, "You can't be." And I said, I'm sure I am. I thought, well, how can I must be number 1. I was number 1 called. And I began to wonder whether I was number 1, you know, whatever he said. Anyway, he didn't say it after the second one, which was a relief. Oh dear. Well, things have moved on in full circles. And from time trials, when you think about it, with dead turns in the road, sometimes 2 or 3 dead turns in a 25 or a 50, in roads and lanes, very difficult to do. No courses round past islands, no fabulous clothing, no narrow tyres, no superb bicycles, no international racing, no time trials mixed with men's events, superb training programs in warm countries, no luck, but we have enjoyed a wonderful and fabulous sport, and we haven't missed a thing. We really haven't. And I hope that I can just say that when you look round at some of these old ordinaries, you realise that they must have suffered as we did. We must have suffered, we all know that. Anyone who's doing the end-to-end and 1,000 will really know that it's not an easy task to perform. And Lynne's father, John, has written a book about all the trials and tribulations of the end-to-end. And I can honestly say that when you read that book, you shed a tear because you feel so sorry for some of the riders. And again, Peter Whitfield, who's a great writer, he's done an awful lot of cycling books, and his books, they really grip you. He's got some wonderful ways of telling his stories. Well, I just want to thank you all again for coming. I hope I haven't kept you too long, but I hope you enjoyed the exhibition. And thank you all for coming. It's absolutely wonderful. Sis here, I used to race with Sis. Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you.
Now, we're going to invite Eileen to cut the tape, but I'd like to ask Trevor Jarvis to step forward to help to assist Eileen. Are you pleased, Trevor?
You know what it is.
Yes. Oh yes, Trevor.
You point, I'll do the work.
Trevor's the man that's got all the work on my bicycle. He's been wonderful.
We're having trouble here.
Hang on, come on.
Go on. Trevor's no good at it, you do
Come
it.
on, they want some new scissors in the joint.
That was basically the last part of the operation which Trevor's been involved in. He's one of these very impetuous sort of people. He actually wrote to Eileen and suggested that this day should be done and commemorated. But fortunately, this is the 10th anniversary. It was February 1998 when he suggested we should do this. And as we know, this is typical of Trevor. If you've ordered a bike frame from him, you know this is the sort of time speed as he works. So, with that, I've got to say thanks very much to Trevor. I can assure you there was some very strong language used as we tried to bend those handlebars to the shape of them. And with that, I would like now to present a very important person to us today, and this is Miss Yvonne Norton. She is the granddaughter of Tom Norton, who actually was the builder of this garage. And Yvonne, if you will present Eileen with flowers, please.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just want to say again to all the staff here, there have been wonderful things they've done. It's a magnificent collection. I think you could take hours and hours here and really enjoy it. I wish you all a lovely, lovely trip round. And thank you for coming again.
Right.
Just one last thing. We have produced not a cycling weekly, a decent cycling weekly. My friend Ken of the Hereford MG Club has produced this book of cycling, and it goes right through Eileen's records, right the way through from 1952 to 1954. It's all related to Eileen. So if you'd like to have a look at it, it will be signed by Eileen, and if anybody would like a copy, if they put the name on a piece of paper here in the office, but you'll have to buy it. But other than that, I thought about auctioning this today.